Hey everyone, before we kick this episode off, I urge everyone listening to like and subscribe to our podcast, wherever you may get your podcast from. So if you listen to us on iTunes, please give us a 5-star rating, or also subscribe to us on Spotify. And I urge all of our listeners to head to our website, and you can get more than just our podcast from there. We have news stories all the time there. We have feature articles there. So head to tnpmedia.au. That's tnpmedia.au. All right, without further ado, we'll get stuck into the podcast.
Talk and Power, your motorsport and motoring radio show. Now on 88.5 FM, The Valley Comes Alive. And podcasting across iTunes and talkandpower.com.au.
Episode 213 of the Talk and Power podcast. I'm your host, Nick DeChimbri. I'm here with my co-host over here, Simon Gonzo Travellini, and co-host over there, Michelle Morrison. How are we?
Nick, have you got the power?
I got the power.
You got the power?
We got the power. We'll play it. We'll insert that later. I've got the power. I've forgotten what we're supposed to say there.
Did you
to
know?
Our friends at Tyre Power. Hello. Big cheerio.
Did you know that 13 is a lucky number in Italian?
It is, yes.
It is.
Oh, I feel like in a lot of Asian countries they purposely miss like the floor 13. The elevators will just go straight from
they do.
In
12 to
America.
14. Oh, really?
In America, the
in
13th
Vegas,
floor.
Vegas
Yeah.
particularly, I suppose.
There you go.
So 213. What's? I don't, look, I mean, what's been happening, Simon, in your world? I know you were both down the track. We're going to get a review of what's happened.
We had, Reno presents his car so beautifully. The car is immaculate. It's all brand new stuff. I mean, it's an old car that we obviously revamped to make it safer for Reno and make it structurally better, and the chassis and so on. And we had a horrible weekend. The problem had actually started the meeting before, and we thought it was a driver error. And Michelle, you would know this from your years of driving. Sometimes when you do the burnout and you lift at the wrong time, the motor can, especially on blown engines where they have a big lope, idle lope.
Yeah, okay.
If you catch it wrong, it'll stall the engine.
Yeah.
Right? And we assumed that that's what Reno had done last meeting.
You do see it happen from time to time.
Yeah. Okay, so it happened again, and Reno, he's still got to do one more, full pass. Yeah. Happened again, and Reno said, "Mate, I'm telling you,
It's not me."
I had my foot down.
Yeah.
Right. And even Brian said, the butterflies were open. So we installed a GoPro in the car, and it was pointing down at his foot, and you could see the tacho in his foot, and it did it again. And I downloaded it and looked at it, and I said, Brian, his foot's probably too far down. Do you know what I mean? And the tacho just drops. So we tried different things with the fuel system. We were just basically in the pits the whole day trying to figure it out. And then Brian said, looking at the data, it seems to happen after he tags the limiter. And, and the reason he's tagging the limiter, so he's never ever gotten anywhere near the limiter, is because we've been saying, Reno, you've got to do a bigger burnout. So he's pushing down harder. Obviously, we've put a bit more power. Brian's put a bit more power into the engine. Comes up a lot faster. So we set the limiter in the pits to 4,000. Started the motor up, revved it up. As soon as it hits the limiter, motor turns off. Turns off, like butterflies are still open, motor off. And we basically spent the whole day and night trying to work out what it is. We've put another power grid in it. It's got a MSD CDI 600 ignition system and the power grid. And we're stumped. We've gone through cam, sync, everything. So I've emailed MSD. Brian we're recording this on Monday morning. Brian will probably call MSD tonight. I don't know what it is. But
So is that limiter just set for his burnout?
yeah, so we tried moving the limiter in all different RPMs because
Yeah.
just in case it was a fluke.
And then he doesn't have a throttle stop for his burnout.
No.
He's just completely,
he's
take it all off.
Yeah, so it wasn't a burnout limiter, this is the overall limiter because he doesn't have anything. We've tried to make it just simple, leave off idle, till he gets used to driving it, and then if if they want to introduce a two-step and stuff like that later on. But yeah, as soon as it touches the limiter, that's it. Finito la musica.
Interesting.
Just switches off. I don't, there's things in the power grid. There's a built-in oscilloscope and a few other things, and everything looks fine. So my guess is it's a problem with the CDI 600. It could be because when it shuts down, it sort of does a couple of backfires out the exhaust, which would suggest that maybe the cam sync is going out of phase. So the way they work is you've got your crank trigger, like you've got on your car, but because there's no distributor, the CDI 600 needs to know where number one cylinder is, and then it fires each of the 8 coils in sequence. So there is where the distributor would normally go, there's what they call a cam sync, and as that comes around, that tells the CDI 600 this is number one, right? And then it goes through the firing order, and then it goes back to there. And it's almost like when it hits the limiter, for some reason, it loses the cam sync because the way it pops out of the exhaust is almost like if you had the distributor 180 degrees out. So hopefully we'll get an answer from MSD.
So it hits the limiter and it goes back to number one by the sound of it.
I don't know. It's like it forgets where number one is.
No, or it's going back to number one even though it shouldn't be number one. You know what I mean?
Needs for that to come around. And that's basically got one. Yeah. Imagine a distributor with one post. That's what the cam sync does, and that post is where number one cylinder is. So if there's anyone out there that's got a CDI 600 and has had the same thing, actually emailed Ray and Murray just to tell them, hey, we're not idiots. We've got this problem. Look,
Did you write it like that? Did you write like, hey, we're not idiots? Or
I'm a bit more diplomatic when I write to Murray and Ray.
Hello, Murray and
Do you
Ray.
have to write that letter often?
No, this is look,
Hope this email finds you
Better
well.
send it out again.
I think that if you go down there and if you have problems, then you should let the track manager and Andra know that, hey, just in case you want to know, this is...
Yeah, it is respectful because it obviously is then disrupting the start
Absolutely.
line
Yeah, you've got to push
the
the car
opposition in
back.
the other car. They've got to hold back.
They'll get all the staff in place next time you roll out.
Get everyone ready to push.
Yeah, well, no, just, and like Shane, who's Reno's main crew guy, he said it is embarrassing. And, that car is immaculate and everything on it is pristine and done to the most professional. His truck is immaculate. Everything that he's got, even the tow vehicle, it's just a Hilux, but it's spotless because that's just how Reno is. Very proud of, presenting things properly and it was, a little bit disappointing because we had spoken that, all right, well, you've run a 9, your first full pass is a 9. Today we'll try and run an 8, and then next season we'll try and run a 7. You know what I mean?
Yeah, obviously, we're having, Nick and I are having a bit of a laugh with that, but there's nothing more heartbreaking to then come out. No. And, it's one thing to be able to, for then to have engine troubles or any troubles with your car during the run, but for it to happen in the burnout that then you don't even get to practice your launch sequence, you don't get any track data.
Yep.
It's you can't even, you've got no data to then work off for that. So
and there's been a few cars that have done it in the last couple of meetings. So
it's.
Someone said, I wonder if it's a firmware upgrade or something.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I reckon it's going back to number one, even when it's not supposed to be at number one.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Not sure. The square wave from the oscilloscope looks spot on, and the number one sync, everything looks there. And yes, we tried another power grid just in case, and it did it with the other power grid. So it's in the CDI 600, and unfortunately, CDI 600s are expensive, so to have a spare one in the trailer is not an option. And it could be the cam sync. Maybe there's something wrong with the cam sync. Who knows?
Yeah.
Anyway, so yes, that was my weekend.
Michelle?
Crying? No.
Crying.
No. My tears have dried. No, I had it was a great weekend. Had a great weekend racing on Saturday myself. I did finish as runner-up for the event with a 1,000th breakout in the final.
I saw that.
Oh, no.
I saw that.
1,000th, yep. And, it was just, we had our third round.
Were you in front?
I was in front.
You got greedy?
No, you know what? What happened was, so we had our third round, and I was actually set to pair up with Rachel Ganaway, and they had some engine troubles, which they were just seeing progressively getting worse, and they decided they'd already lost 2 rounds. They know that the engines, something's going wrong. They didn't want to push it. So they said, look, we're bowing out for the third round. So that meant I had a solo, but I had 2 wins, and there was also Paul Garbellini that was paired up against Nick Rowe, who unfortunately he had a rollover crash in the first round. He is thankfully okay, but it was quite, being a few pairs back, it was...
What lane was he in?
He was in the left lane.
And was it a big, in the big end, or...?
No, it was quite... it was a little bit before the snake pit, I feel like. I haven't seen any replay of it. I've been experiencing a bit of a bump in the left lane, and I did immediately think, gosh, has that bump contributed to that? But it did look like it was a bit before where I've been.
Did you hear about Norbert getting sideways off the hit? Look,
there was a lot of movement from a lot of cars, and including my own on Saturday, and so. Nick was obviously supposed to be against Paul. Nick being out, myself opposition with Rachel being out, then that we both had guaranteed wins. And so for me, being 25 points behind Paul in the championship, I had to win the event and he had to not make the final for me to be able to catch him on the championship points. So I knew that it was just going to be all about package to get through to the final, and there was 2 other modified races as well as myself and Paul that were on 2 wins, needing to get that third win to go through to the final. So it was, for that third round, there was 4 of us that were gunning for that. So I knew that I had to have a tight package and pulled out a 000 reaction time.
That's what I said.
And running 3,000ths off my dial-in. But that dial-in, then I ran a 728 with a 7, and it was a straight pass. It was a reasonably straight pass. It was cool. It was starting to get a little bit of movement, but I had some really skatey passes earlier in the day, but that one against them all was straight. Coming up against Paul for the final, we both cut a light that was close enough. He ran an 036 light on my 043, and I've hit the bump in the left lane, which I seem to be experiencing more impact from the last race, last event in particular. And I'm moving around so much on the track. I'm like, I'm not going to get him. I thought that I had a good light, but I thought I'm not going to catch him. And then just the amount that I was moving around on the track, I just knew that I wasn't getting from A to B the same way that I got from A to B the run before, just an hour earlier. And it's so hard to say this. My car my car, look, usually I lose a race and it is on me with the reaction time. My dial-ins and what the car runs against its dial-in, that end is usually very tight, and it's the room for error is always me and my reaction times as the driver. I feel as if that's my advantage, my car's consistency is my advantage on everyone. So everything going through my mind is in, I'm moving all over this track. Surely I'm not going to be going close to my dial-in, and then suddenly, hang on a second, I've overtaken him. Wait, and then I've
She
crossed
got greedy,
it.
Nick. It's a gentleman's sport. You're only meant to win by a little bit.
By a little bit, yes, okay, but I still have this nightmare from Adelaide International, 2015, finals, and I've gotten in front of the car and I've backed off and they've come through past me at the last minute and won because they had more top end.
Michelle wakes up at
Corral.
night. No!
No! And the amount that I was moving around on the track, I really didn't think that I was going to be running a close time to the one, because we dialed in a 7:29 and ran a 7:28 with a 9.
So did you just blame Trent for it?
He blamed himself. He blamed
Poor
himself,
guy.
and I said to him, I should have backed off. I could have backed off. I could have done that, but look, like, he is extremely expressional on the start line, and sometimes it
he
has
would have
been
been
with everyone's like, oh, you didn't have a good reaction time, did you? Because Trent's reaction to watching my finger come off the trans brake, like, he knows already. Of course, like with rounds, and once we're in eliminations, it doesn't show you the reaction time on the board like it does in qualifying. But Trent's watching through my body, like through the chassis, watching my thumb on there, and if he sees that come off and he can read it just from watching it, he's like, nah, go, like,
He walks
turns
off.
and he'll turn away. And people have said to me, oh, I knew that you must have had a bad light as soon as I saw Trent's reaction. So Trent was hands up on his head, and I think he dropped to his knees as well. And but the worst part about it, it's so hard. A lot of people, you try and stick to that, like, trust your gut, and Trent had, I'm not sure whether they had made the decision at that point. I'm strapped in, I've got my belts on, I'm in the staging lanes, and I heard Trent and Trevor talking behind me, and Trent says, every time I dial a 7:29, she runs a 7:28. and then I actually didn't even look at the board to see what was dialed in.
You don't know you're dialing, do you?
Well, it does come up on the board to show us, but sometimes Trent is. We get buckled in, and then it's how fast we move through the staging lane sometimes depends. But those changes will happen like right up until the tunnel.
Yeah, it's you've got up until the tunnel.
Yeah. So sometimes it needs to be set. When it's we have to have that package for third round to be able to then make it through to the final, and competing against the others that are on 2 wins. He'll say to me, like, you need to run it out the back door. Like, if you overtake them, doesn't matter. You run it out the back door.
Yeah.
You need that package. That package needs to be right.
Yeah, you've told us that for the last couple of years.
We've had, on the weekend, we had a
Same with the
4-hour break.
delay box.
The delay box, yep.
You got to hammer that tree.
Yeah. Sometimes, I'm kind of saying to him now, I don't know what he is pressing, but I will speak to him more about it, and I'll say, I could have done better than that. Like, I could have been more onto that one. Like, don't take that one as, and then, or I might say that I really want to try and do my same routine, but I might be a bit apprehensive if I'm racing against a driver that is maybe new or is still a bit, still getting used to their car, not running consistent times.
Yeah, but
and
they're,
I'm like,
they're the
I want to be
ones.
really quick on it, but I don't want to be losing it on the line because I'm, so sometimes I'd be like, okay, well, I'm just going to be a bit more cautious with this, and then that's ruining my sequence because I just need to be doing the same thing no matter what.
Yeah.
So now we're communicating more with that, and I actually feel like that's what has really, really increased my performance with my reaction time, because the things that I'm thinking about in my head pairing up against someone, sometimes, well, there was one time I was racing Jess, and I can't think of her last name, but it's Jeff Acton's daughter.
Yep.
I don't think she'd even made it down the track in qualifying. They were having troubles with the car. It might have only been her second event out. She's only raced a couple of times. And I cut a terrible light, and I said to Trent, sorry, but there was no way I was losing that on the tree. I was pretty confident that she wasn't going to be running close to a dial-in that they pulled out of thin air realistically. And I hope that I'm not offending anyone by saying that, but
Jeff's got a
was.
pretty thick skin.
Yeah, well,
He'll
I
be
think
fine.
they know realistically the car, they hadn't even made a pass, and her last event was the year prior and things like that. But I said, I wasn't going to lose that on the tree, so sorry. I know that was a lousy light, but I just had to get down track.
For those listening, when you say lose it on the tree, it's your concern about going red.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Which is taking off effectively before the tree,
Yeah. And
gets to the green.
Crossing the start line before the light goes green.
Yeah.
That's right. So Trent wasn't happy. And then I get back to the pits and I said to Trev, sorry, lousy light, but I just wanted to play it safe there.
In saying that, the best races that I've known in bracket racing, like Brenton Baxter, for example, every time they lose, it's to one of them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not because they red lit. It's because I remember years ago when Brenton was...
Oh, you got to watch it because there's always an underdog.
Yeah, but they just like... you get that situation. Colin McCarthy, I think the guy's name was. It was a Sandro's old XD streetcar, right?
Yeah.
And, Brenton's a very calculating racer. So he'll go, he'll be aiming for an 013 or somewhere thereabout-ish, And he was like, it's a streetcar deal. But he's still, doesn't want to go like triple zip.
Yeah.
But he still wants to cut a decent light, so he dialed in what he thought he needed in the delay box, and Colin went like a 001 and ran dead eye.
Dead on, yeah.
the dial-in.
I said underdog, but I meant dark horse.
Yeah.
There's that. But I said to Trent, I played it safe, and he said, yeah. But I played it safe with the delay box too.
Right, there you go.
So we communicate with it a bit more, and I definitely think that has contributed to the performance in my reaction time, increasing specifically over the last second half of events for this season. But yeah.
But listen, it's still an incredible. I spoke to Paul at the last meeting, and I said, what amazes me is that you've been out of the seat for, doing the family thing.
Yeah, 7
right?
years.
And he just got into the sport, and you two have managed to, just...
Well, I mean, he was in Super Sedan. He obviously had his practice and success with that. Still using the tree. Come on, credit where credit's due. I had 7 years off.
I know.
What did we
but
say last year with
went...
the last recording with the NHRA, the See the Tree... That
Sean that's true, but he came from foot brake street car 11-second deal, and getting into a dragster is totally different.
Yeah.
I just think it's amazing, and the battle that you two have had all season, it's just been incredible to watch.
I mean, for him to win the championship in his first season of modified, and that's a just completely different car.
Yeah,
it's a huge accomplishment for Paul, and obviously he's backed it up again this year. So
it's sort of, I think it's just amazing. It's been incredible watching you two battle it out. I mean, every race meeting. Oh, what do we got there? What's it called?
The peach Bellini. This was Linda's.
This is a celebratory drink for coming second in the championship. I still think it's worth
Thanks,
celebrating.
Nick. Absolutely.
And Linda,
Oh,
Linda
while
knows
you're doing that, I'm just gonna.
You are a fan of this particular
Yes,
beverage.
Linda, you bought me this for Christmas.
Yes.
And I thought that I must have had some secret spies whispering in your ear, because it is like my two choice of drinks combined with the ginger peach Bellini there. I love ginger beer, and then I love peach vodka iced tea.
Nick's about to spray his laptop.
Yeah, mine.
This is where we needed the video tonight. I'm gonna read.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
I'm going to read through these while Nick's trying to figure out how to pop the cork. So, in the Dragtech Fabrication Junior Drag Bike, Cooper Asherfield took the win over Riley Killington. And the champion, the West Australian champion for 2025 is Riley Kilvington, sorry.
Just a typo in that first one.
So, yeah, it's a typo. Sorry about that.
Hey,
and there he goes. There he goes. In Junior Dragster, Brock Ferguson, again, took the win over Scarlett Dolan. And this year's champion is Brock Ferguson. Super Street, Gavin Donnelly, big fan of the show, took the win over Lisa Garbellini. And the championship, as it is every year, I think now, Steph Galotto. Everyone's still waiting for Steph and Matt to have another kid so that someone's got a chance of winning the championship. Chris Mills' Performance Super Sedan. John Szabo back to his winning form, taking out...
First time in Sedan.
Sorry?
It's his first season in Sedan.
It is his first season, that is correct, because he got sick of getting booted for running quicker to 10-0 in Super Street, which, by the way, I think is a dumb rule. But anyway, because ultimately, if you do it in eliminations, you're going out. You can only dial 10-0.
Yeah, right.
So anyway, but that's just my opinion. Right, and the runner-up, which I tell you what, this is his first. This is his rookie season with a whole new car, and I got a lot of time for this guy, Ryan Gosling. He has the ex-Bob Campbell 300ZX. He's restored the car immaculately. It looks just as good as the day that Bob rolled it out.
Yeah.
And great to see him get in there. Always good to see some new faces. And this is his second time in the finals. I believe that he won.
Yeah, maybe was it the Nitro Slam? I feel
one of the meetings.
The meeting before.
He's a great
Just
guy.
A recent one.
As is John. So congratulations, Michelle.
Thank you.
And to Trent and to Trevor and the entire team.
The whole team, the whole Morrison team.
Would not be possible without.
They are used to winning, those boys.
They have set the bar, that is for sure. Look, I mean, I guess let's take a sip though for Phil.
Oh, that is nice.
It is nice.
It's very nice.
That is nice.
Look, having Trent and Trevor lead the team really, and then bringing on my nephew Ethan. So my crew is family, but Trent and Trevor have set the bar, but it's really changed my mindset with racing. And it's interesting. Trent and I have very different racing personalities, and we've kind of come. And at first, I was kind of like, "This is my car. We do it my way," a bit, right? Admittedly, but then I started actually becoming successful, and I realised that when I raced previous to my 7-year break, we was just so focused on trying to get the car to run a 6.
Yeah.
After running a 7:02, we were so focused on thinking we could get a 6. And, just with elimination rounds back then, no Chicago shootout, if my car wasn't consistent and in that first round, if I've shook the tyres, a wheel stand that's landing me in a different direction.
That was
taking me off my dial-ins.
It was a bucking Bronco, that thing back in those days.
Yeah, I loved it because it was a very aggressive car on the start line, and I felt like I was really able to prove my ability as a driver, and now I'm proving my ability as a driver in a different way, and I'm being successful going rounds, and so it's great. Life's good.
That's what we like to hear.
Yeah, that's right. So, big congratulations to John Szabo taking out the championship. Modified bike, Ian Reid over Luke Seaton, and Luke Seaton is the West Australian champion for 2025. Okay, now, do you want to walk out of the room for this one?
Yeah, let me just block my ears. Maybe turn off my mic in case you hear some... No.
In Modified Eliminator, it was Paul Garbellini over our Michelle Morrison, and Paul Garbellini is champion.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Paul.
Well done,
Congratulations to all the champions, and there was a few there that were finalists for the last event, also securing the championship, which is really nice to see.
Yes,
as well, because it just solidifies that some of the championships I think had already been tied up.
I think it was really only, and I could be wrong.
We've still got some more though.
Yeah, I'm still going.
Page. Oh.
I think it was really only Casey McClure.
And of course Daniel Natalotto.
And he'd already wrapped it up.
He'd already wrapped it up.
Yeah, well, that's pretty standard for Daniel.
Had the t-shirts printed.
Oh, awesome. That's great. So in Top Sportsman, Yvette Gregg over Jason Lippy, and I believe that this may have gone down to the third round before the championship was decided there. And Yvette Gregg is the 2025 champion. Specialised tilt tray and towing supercharge outlaws. Casey McClure had this wrapped up from last meeting, and she took out Norbert Clate. Norbert's really done an outstanding job this season to get that big bad beast, going down the track consistently. I'm sure we're going to see great things out of Norbert. I really want to see Norbert move into comp for next season, but we'll wait and see. And Casey McClure is the 2020.
You might have just let slip.
Oh, he's that's what we...
Jared put him on the spot at trophy presentation, saying like, "Oh, can we any changes in the off season?" Is it? Watch his space.
What it is that the car is heavier than we all thought it was going to be, and it's the screw blower that's made it heavier. Because that's got a cast iron block in it.
Has he still got the 632?
No.
Right,
It's I think, actually, you know what? I don't know for sure how many cubes it is. I think it's 509, but it's a big block Chev-based engine with a cast iron block, so he really needs an aluminium block to, get the weight out of the vehicle. Because, we were all surprised. He borrowed my scales, and I was like, huh? I thought it was going to be light because, it's such an awesome, Yank-style car.
Yeah.
But anyway, alrighty. We're Specialised Towing Outlaw Radio, Brock Moresby, and runner-up was Brad Leslie. Now, there's no championship here for... I'm assuming Brock Moresby won it because I think he won every meeting this season. That's the ex-Alfie... VP Commodore, VP? Yeah, some Commodore door slammer AAAP car.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Do you remember
Yep.
Alf? I can't remember his second name.
Sabello.
I think so, yeah. Beautiful looking car. And our man, Daniel Natalotto, taking out Ross Smith in Cop Bike. And championship winner, Daniel Natalotto.
Third year in a row.
Oh, he's just a legend, that guy. And he works so hard for the sport with the riding school. He deserves it. I mean, everyone here deserves it, but, Daniel...
the what he puts into the riding school at Whoop-Ass Wednesdays.
Everything. He's just such a likeable guy, too. Super Comp. Jake Chasty taking out Rick Johns, but ultimately it was Rick Johns that took out the championship. Look, both great guys, but I've got to be honest with you, great to see Rick win the championship. He has worked so hard for so many years and helped so many other teams
Yeah.
get success. So
And
it's,
Liz as well.
and she's
the whole family is just so involved
Works
with drag racing and Wadra, but to see him come back and win a championship, and this is his first full season.
Yeah, I think it is.
I think so. Yeah.
I'm trying to think whether he came out a little bit.
Is he going to get Rookie of the Year?
Can we do that? Yeah. How many years do we have to have off before we get to?
Well,
No,
it
but
was
that's
it was his car, but not engine when Ralph was racing.
Correct.
it?
Yes. Yeah. And in competition eliminator, it was no surprises here. Connor McClure taking out Madison Brown, and Connor taking out the championship yet again. I believe Madison's got a screw blower on that, so keep an eye on that car for next season. And I also believe there's going to be a couple of other cars joining them in comp. Altereds. Lots of
Hey,
Altereds for
cool.
next season.
I'm a fan.
Yes, you are. Blown Alcohol All-Stars. Nigel Johnson taking out John Zapier. And champion doubling up after winning the West Australian SummerSlam, I think. Yep. Championship, Brody Zapier. So that are your 2025 champions and the winners and runners-up of this season. So we'll see you all again.
Well done, everyone, and enjoy your 6-month break.
Yeah, enjoy your time off, and congratulations to all of those, the champions. And I'm sure, even though it's the off season, a lot of work still gets done in the off season, doesn't it?
And it goes at the blink of an eye.
Yeah.
That's where all the hard work does get done,
I know,
Nick.
it does. That's exactly right.
Because to prepare to win, you need to prepare. I don't know.
Prior preparation. Is this the? Yeah, we should
Prior-
have checked that.
Yeah, something like that. Anyway, to win, what is it? To win, you must first prepare to win. I don't know.
Oh, Ethan says it to me.
So while everyone was recovering on the Sunday, over in America, they were running the 4-wide Nationals.
Yes, the first of 2 back-to-back 4-wide races was held at the Strip in Las Vegas Motor Speedway in Las Vegas, Nevada. This season's turning out to be a mix of upsets and expected results. In qualifying, we saw the expected outcome of Doug Coletta and Greg Anderson taking the top spot in their respective classes. But I don't think anyone expected to see Paul Lee topping the charts in Nitro Funny Car.
The McLeod Clutch, Johnny Lindbergh, John Medlin tuned Dodge Charger took the top spot with a 394, edging out favourite Austin Prox 394 with an 8. And an unexpected Spencer Hyde in third. Spencer is another newcomer whose presence in the top order came as a shock to everyone.
Spencer's claim to fame is winning the World Series of Pro Mod, a $100,000 race a couple of years ago. This is the first foray into the world of big show funny car racing. Driving for Jim Head, Spencer's showing his ability behind the wheel, and Jim is showing his tuning ability. It looks like this season is not going to be the runaway for the John Force Racing Proc Rocket that the last 2 seasons have been. Austin is going to have to work to bring home the championship number 3.
In Top Fuel, the Final Four saw Tony Stewart take his first victory as a Top Fuel driver, edging out Antron Brown, while Jasmine Salinas lost traction. I'm sorry, guys, but my eyesight's that bad.
Double up the glasses.
Yeah, I have to double up my glasses there. Where are we here? Jasmine Salinas lost traction early in the run, and Justin Ashley's 3.965 was no contest for Tony Stewart's 3.87. Great to see Tony take his first win. This is big news for drag racing and the Stewart team.
Yeah, absolutely. And Tony's post-race interview was really... it was really great to listen to. He speaks a lot. I think he speaks in a way that gives a lot of credit to drag races in general, comparing about how he said that it's never taken him as long as it has been in drag racing to be able to claim an event win. When he said he's been involved in the NHRA 5 years now, and he's like, usually it's in the first season that I get the hang of things and I'll get a win and maybe even 2, but to be 5 years on. He had his first event win 2 years ago at Vegas as well.
It was
in the Top Alcohol.
Yeah, yep.
In Top Alcohol. So then this being his first win now in Top Fuel. But he gave so much credit to his crew and the work that gets put in behind them, from them. And I thought it was interesting. I didn't realise that Dom Langana's now one of the...
Yeah, one of the co-crew chief advisors.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
he beats himself up a lot about reaction times. He's lost a couple.
His first 2 rounds, he won on hole shots.
Yeah, yeah.
So, he's getting those improvements there. But he really said that a lot of races, a lot of the other Top Fuel races or races that he's speaking to don't like the 4 wide races, and they said because looking at the tree when it's showing the bulbs of 4 cars, and it's just out of their usual rhythm and out of their comfort zone. And he said, I haven't got a comfort zone yet. He's like, I'm still trying to find my place. I'm still getting comfortable. So that gave him a bit of confidence, feeling like he was more balanced and on par a bit with his ability to kind of match up to their experience. And
you know what it is? A lot of them can't remember which tree to look at.
Yeah, right. What lane am I in? Do I have someone next to me, or?
Well, you have to, depending on which lane you're in, you have to look at, because there's a tree on either side of you. Yeah, and a lot of them get that wrong. And one of the most common mistakes that you'll see at the 4 wide is someone getting timed out.
Because they're trying to...
Well, you don't want to go in too early and go on the high side too quick.
Yeah.
Right? So especially if you know this racer takes forever to go into stage, you don't want to be in there on the high side because it's going to blow the tyres off.
You end up going deep stage because you're looking at someone else, a different tree or
Yeah.
something that's yours. Can you imagine?
Or you think you're in full stage and you're not even in
Yeah,
stage at
yep,
all.
yep.
But
Yeah, remember Sean Langdon got timed out?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah,
You know?
I mean, can definitely just see it happening.
Can you
We were
imagine Connie
actually at
Coletta?
this-
Can you imagine going back to the pits after you got timed out and having to explain yourself to Connie Coletta?
Trent and I actually went to the 4 wide race in Vegas in 2000.
What's the sound like?
Oh, well, actually, we were on the start line, so it was amazing. I mean, but I've never been on the start line for a Top Fuel race before. So then for my first ever experience of that, being 4 wide, like, you're joking, right? But absolutely amazing. It was amazing. But back to Tony Stewart, he also was saying that because of the weather in Vegas, that was also a bit of the equalizer, because the cars that are making the top power, they actually have to tune their cars back a little bit. Otherwise, they'll just blow the tyres straight off. So he's saying, like, the cars making the top power, they can't actually do that here. So we're not at that level yet. So because they're having to tune theirs down, like, then we can meet them a bit closer. And so I really thought that, you know, for him, I think, what were they saying? NASCAR champion, Indy, the three crown champion. Triple crown. And now for an NHRA win. I just thought that his post-interview was, like, really humbling and gave a lot of credit to his crew. But then he even made the statement, you know, the pressure that's on the crew chiefs, and to be a crew chief, tuning the car and then watching the car go down to waiting to see what's going to happen. He said, you know, this is why the crew chiefs get paid more than the drivers in NHRA.
Yeah.
And I thought it was...
crew chief can cost you a lot of money.
Yeah. But I just thought the interview was so well done and so well spoken, really giving that the nods in the right direction, but turning that attention and focus on those areas as well. So, yeah.
Speaking of top fuel crew chiefs, did you guys know that Kyle ran a 370?
No.
Yeah, at the bend. Yeah.
At the bend?
Yep. So that is the quickest.
Wow.
So that's Bill Miller's old car, and that's the quickest that car has been to 330. So they're, you know, Rory keeps saying that, I don't know, like,
We're getting there.
yeah, we're getting there, but he you know, it's expensive. You know what I mean? He
Yeah.
doesn't want to burn up Kyle's money.
Oh, yeah.
But they found a few things. So all you top fuel guys out there, watch out, because I fully expect to see some more big numbers out of that team.
How exciting. I suppose so for Sydney. Are they racing Sydney?
I'm not sure, but I know that I was there when Rory was doing some stuff, and he showed me, and I was like, oh, wow. So,
Well,
yeah,
we'll
so keep
give
your
the
eye out
report
on that one.
So
Pro stock.
we
Pro stock.
are up to Pro Stock.
We are.
And in Pro Stock, Dallas Glenn took the whole shot win over Matt Hartford, followed by Greg Anderson, and rounding out the four was Matt Lantino. This is Dallas Glenn's third four-wide win, and although most drivers don't particularly like the four-wide format, I'm sure Dallas isn't one of them.
You know, I was listening to Brian Loans on the way here, and he was saying that the KB Titan team have taken nearly all the prize money this season in Pro Stock. So,
Yep.
There's not much going the elite way, that's for sure.
no,
Yeah,
no.
still.
Not a cent.
And because basically, if you go through the points, like the rounds, pretty much every meeting after second round, there's just KB Titan cars left.
Yeah.
So it's I'm sure Erica and, you know, obviously Jegs, you know, like he knows how to get the job done. Erica knows how to get the job done. So I'm sure we'll see them. You know, come back. Last but not least, in Nitro Funny Car, Austin Prock may not have top qualified, but he took home the Wally in a very close race. Paul Lee had the whole shot with a 046 light to the next closest Austin Prock 062, but the Prock Rocket rolled out a 4009 to Lee's 4042. Dave Richards was third with a squirrely out of the groove run heading towards the wall, and Matt Hagan struck the tyres early in the run.
That Paul Lee team is doing amazing things for a one-car team. It's unbelievable that they could top qualify and make the finals. They might not have the budget of John Force Racing or Tony Stewart Racing, but they certainly have the brains with John Medlin and Johnny Lindbergh. It seems that these new crew chiefs, under the supervision of the old guard, are doing amazing things. We saw Chad Green win the first event of the season with Nitros radial racer Dean Martinez, and Joe Serena making the calls under the watchful eye of Tim Wilkerson. Is this the changing of the guard?
We'll get to find out. The next race is the American Rebel Light 4-wide Nationals at ZMAX Dragway, April 25th to April 27th.
Which is in Charlotte, North Carolina.
I believe so. The American Rebel Light, I'm assuming that is a competitor to Bud Light.
I don't know, to be honest.
Yeah, I haven't heard of that.
American Rebel
You'd,
sounds like a bourbon, not a beer.
Yeah, don't know.
Could you have a light bourbon? Does that mean it's light brown?
Well, yeah, I think they do. They do that with rum, right?
They do.
I've seen it with rum.
It tastes a lot better.
Just getting back to Spencer Hyde, he's still living in Canada, I think, because he's Canadian.
He is
Spencer.
Canadian.
And I
Probably
think
has to go back every 3 months.
He's a farmer.
Then.
No, he's concrete.
Concrete.
Yeah. So, and I think he's still full time working.
Are you
in
sure?
the
Because
family
didn't they have
business.
something, Jack the Bean or some...
No, you're getting confused with the other funny car driver. Can't remember now.
No. Well, isn't his car green?
Yeah. It's but that's not. But his family business is concrete.
Oh, really?
Construction. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think he still works full time.
There you go. I mean, there's a lot of new drivers in Nitro Funny Car this season.
Yeah.
Now this event, there was 19 cars trying for 16 the 16 spots.
Yeah, right.
They don't run formats in America.
Yeah.
Run proper drag racing.
Is it proper drag racing when it's full wide? I mean, it's definitely a different way of doing it. But yeah,
It's crazy.
I wouldn't go down saying it's not the traditional format of drag racing. But yeah, it's a spectacle to see, and then we'll see it again.
I was talking to someone today, and we were talking about new classes, and they said to me, "Oh, we really want to go to the track and talk to them about this." And I said, "It sounds fantastic. Like I would get behind it 100%." And he said, "Yeah, but the problem is formatting." And I said, "What do you mean?" Yeah, well, they don't have enough time to run an extra class. I said, "Well, if they got rid of the all-run format and we're back to eliminations, they probably would."
I got to say, it is getting a little bit. I had the same thoughts
Monotonous?
on the weekend. I had the same thought on the weekend. We had modified races like end of season catch up, and it got brought up in conversation then as well. And we had 12 entries for modified for the last event, and we know of other cars that are going to be. Not all of our entrants were actually there, and we still had 12.
Yep.
There was some races that were notably missing, and ones that were racing quite a bit during the season, which had obviously then couldn't race for one reason or another. New drivers coming in, and it is like, where are we going to have the time? We've already dropped a qualifier.
Michelle, I have worked really hard, as has Nick, over the last 5 years to try and get as many people as we know back to the track racing, right? Because we still had the leftovers of what happened with the IHRA, where a lot of people walked away. And the one thing that a lot of people that have gone back, put their toes in the water and come back, the one thing that I hear a lot, these are the people that had a go and then they go, "Oh, Gons, went down there." Well, what happened? Oh, man, like if you get eliminated first round, you pack up, you can watch a bit of racing, go home. You don't have to. But with this 3-round thing, you got to wait. And then when you get, even if you win all 3 races, you get to the end and you don't make the finals. It's like someone stabbed you and then turned the knife.
It's, we had a 4-hour wait, a 3-hour wait, and a 2-hour in between rounds. We've dropped a qualifier, but we still have our first qualifying round at 10:30, and then with the finals not being run until 10:30, and some of them have been scheduled to finish at 10, some of them 10:30. Like, in my mind, that is so close to the curfew at 11 p.m. We went over curfew once this season, and I think it's just extremely fortunate that we didn't go over again. And it's
I'm telling you now, the more that we ask for it to go back to eliminations, the less likely it is that it's going to happen. So
like
we should probably stop talking about it.
Those competitor numbers increasing, which is what we want to see. People, a lot of people did step back.
But look how many people are in Super Sedan now. I mean, it doesn't make sense to be running it. I get it for classes that have 4 cars. I mean, me personally, I think that if you've got 4 cars, you should probably, call it. You know what I mean?
Roll it into another. Roll it.
Yeah, roll it into another class. But hey, it is what it is.
I like it for some reasons. I like it for some reasons, viewing purposes, for the spectators, when it comes down to championship points and doing that kind of thing. Like,
no. Look, hey, Michelle, you are 100% right.
Yep.
You are 100% right that it sucks when you invite sponsors, friends, family down, and they rock up at 6 o'clock because the ticket says racing starts at 6, and you're eliminated in first round. But I've got a solution for that, right? Move that. Move that to 4 or to 3 or when racing really starts.
Which now, now that we're kind of looking through the eyes and living like a family now, I say, because we need to be mindful of our girls. Wherever we would go, we would say, and before I got back in the car, when we would go to the drags, we would say, all right, we'll put the girls for a later lunchtime sleep to see if we can stretch them out a bit past their 7 o'clock bedtime. And then they sleep well in the car. We're very fortunate that our girls do sleep well in the car. Some people aren't. And they would say, we need to be back in bed, home in bed, before they get cranky at their bedtime. But I'll say, we'll leave when they get tired. We'll leave when they get tired. We'll put them in the car. If we're getting encouraged, if the spectator gates are opening at 4 o'clock, if the spectators have been told it starts at 5, and I've driven an hour to get to the track, and then I'm saying, well, we might only have 2 hours before they're going to crack it, realistically, for those that are parents and everyone else that's been around kids know that they could potentially crack it once they get tired. Then it's like, all right, well, time to go. We've driven the same amount that we have actually been at the track for. And that's with me being in the very fortunate position that our girls do sleep in the car. If you'd have to then have them in bed to avoid an hour drive with them crying. But why not promote it as a family? Why not promote it as a day event?
I thought that it was meant to be a family. So I'm going to put you all on the spot. One thing that you would change, Nick, for next season?
I'd be rolling a number of the classes together. That's my view.
Yeah, so which ones?
So top sportsmen
into sedan?
Yeah.
That one?
And even supercharged outlaws.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
There's a fair few of them now, yeah? Isn't there?
At some mates.
Supercharged outlaws.
Yeah. There was a few.
There's a
6, maybe?
There's a handful of consistent competitors there every event.
That's the nature of running a blower boat.
Yeah, well, yeah, and that's the thing. I think there's a few teams still trying to, get their tune up right.
Jeff told me he wasn't racing, and shock horror when I got to the track, I said, I thought you were racing. It was ready to go. So where would you put outlaws?
All together with top sportsmen and sedan.
Oh, really? What about the dragsters? Put them in modified.
Yeah,
and the altereds.
Yeah.
I don't know. I get it with sedan, but I honestly I couldn't tell you how many top sportsman cars there are right now. If you ask me, I would need to look at the results to see how many entered.
Top sportsman was born out of sedan.
It was. Yeah. But I think that there's enough supercharged outlaw cars now. I think so. I don't know. One thing you'd change?
Gosh, one thing, Simon. One thing.
Just one. Just one.
Thing. Oh dear. Do I go there? Do I go there with you, Simon? I feel like I just need to say it and then you can speak on it. Look, there is the Andra rule submission to change Group 3 racing into their qualifying order be determined by reaction time.
Ooh.
And I feel like my point of view isn't a good one to have. Oh, but that's
something you'd like to leave the same.
Yeah.
Look, but, I agree with you 100% that should not change, and I'll explain to you why. Ultimately,
that's what I was hoping for.
ultimately, our sport is about getting to the other end of the track as quickly as possible, and not punching a number into a box, right? Which is what you can do if that's the new rule. Mm-hmm. And everyone can have a crack and go red, right? But it takes effort and money, and it becomes more difficult, as you've seen. Mm-hmm. When your car was running 7 O's, it was like a bucking Bronco rather than a nice smooth lap down the track. So it would
now that it's slower, it's more consistent.
Correct. It would be stupid to have a rule that doesn't reward the quicker car.
But who wants this rule? Because I've yet to speak with someone that wants that rule. anyway.
There
Well,
are people that are
qualifying based on.
there are
on
people
reaction
that are
time.
complaining that they have to race the same person in first round, and that is the gospel truth.
Well,
Because
it comes where it's becoming more apparent is because we're all running the all-round format. You're actually getting paired up with the same three, which we've gotten a bit in modified, but then it mixes up as well. Like,
Absolutely.
it doesn't always.
and as a
happen.
new car
It's-
comes in, it changes the
yeah,
qualifying.
absolutely. And there's the more entrants that you have, the smaller that qualifying difference between some of those numbers are going to be.
But I'll tell you
Tightens
something.
up.
I'll tell you something, and this is evident here, and it's evident in America, right? When you do something like that, when you change a rule like that, nothing we say is going to have any effect on this, because the people who are going to vote one way or vote the other way are going to vote one way or the other way, right? But a classic example was Mark Mickey at the World Series of Pro Mod, where he decided to sit out qualifying. He did one lap.
Well, that's what we believe. I mean, he didn't. The car was in the staging lanes, but he didn't take his place in that final qualifier.
He, as far as I know, he said, and I quote, "What difference does it make? They're
his
pulling
chip draw.
So
Yeah.
you know what, and this is the thing. So when it came out across Facebook, Trent doesn't have Facebook. He does. I think he said to me like, "Oh, they may as well make it a chip draw." And then Trevor said, "Oh, why don't they just make it dial in qualifying?" I was like, "Done."
Yeah, well, you know what?
Done.
I'd go with that. I think that's better.
Do a dial in qualifying to see.
It's
And
just
because then it's
you know,
about your package,
Of
right?
course it is.
It's
Of course
like-
it is. Of course it is. Ultimately, they will do whatever they want to do. The rules will get whatever. I have seen the rules be manipulated. You know, there is a saying that says you don't let the inmates run the asylum, right? That is, you know, been well versed over many
Well,
centuries, and I've seen this sport, the dumb rules come in because, you know, people that are going to gain out of it. It's like the pro tree
Yeah.
in Outlaws. Like, it doesn't make any sense. It's not a Group 1 category. It's not a Group 4 category. And if you're going to leave on a two-step, the slower car has a massive advantage because they can get on the chip as soon as they bump in because the tree's coming down. And no one, when the rule proposal was put in to put it back to a full tree where you can get on the chip on the first amber, let go of the button in the last amber because they're not allowed to run the delay box. The people that had the most to gain went out there on Facebook and said, "Oh, we can't have these people telling us," and you know, and everyone got on board with that. And that's the problem. Because of social media, people will get out there and get in people's heads and manipulate the rule process rather than people thinking about it and going, is this a good thing for the sport or is this a bad thing for the sport?
yeah.
Our biggest problem now is not the rules. Ultimately, what happens on the track is not going to affect the amount of people that come
Yeah.
to the track.
And that's the other side of it. You know, there's the what I would change from that, and because that's going to be like impacting my class of racing and potentially a lot of others. You know, there's been a lot of chat on the
So you
social
still,
media.
you still
with
haven't picked
commenting of
something.
That.
You still haven't picked something. You picked something that you want to stay the same.
Yeah. So I think realistically, you know, what I really want to see to change at the track is more marketing for the events, but with a strategic plan for that. I think that we want to be able to see who our audience is, who our demographic is, and really direct to there. I really believe that, you know, Gavin,
I agree.
no, sorry, I've gone with the wrong name.
No.
Chris
Mitchell.
Gary Miosevich.
Gary Miosevich, yes.
Gary Miosevich, he had a lot of personal money, and I think he had the business mentality, spend money to make money. And there was able to be success for that. I think that we need to have a lot of confidence behind our sport to be able to invest in our events to be able to grow.
I think that Gary had a great vision for a excellent local show, and I believe, and Nick, you were down there with me for many, many, many years. I believe that what is missing now is that at the moment we don't have a fair rule package in certain classes, and because of that, people don't want to play in those classes, and because of that, we don't see the great matchups that we used to see. Now, as much as, I love the Zappiers and, what they've done for Door Slammer and so on, it was pretty cool to watch Trevor roll out with his small block 871 and beat Zap, right? And I think there was a lot of people that, because Australians love the underdog. That's what we love. But when you have a rule package that is stacked one way, the people are not going to go and play. The old top comp system, the personal index system, everything the way it was done, the way Gary designed it.
You're saying that, though, relying on the spectators to know the rules and to
No. It's not the spectators at this point. Right now, none of the supercharged races, and this is why we have the SummerSlam, and this is why we have pro alcohol.
Yeah.
Right? They don't want to race the turbo cars, and the reason they don't want to race the turbo cars is because there is no boost limit. For some strange reason, the boost limit was removed from altered production. It still exists in RR and RRR. It still exists in, I can't remember, it's in Funny Car and Altered, or Altered and Dragster. It's in two of the three, Funny Car, Dragster, Altered classes, which it's 40 pounds in all of those classes. But for some reason, in Altered production, it doesn't exist. Now, when you have a supercharger, that supercharger is only going to make somewhere between 36 and 42 pounds. And the reason for that is because the supercharger, every time it turns, it moves a swept volume given by the size of the, if it's a 1471, 1671, 871, whatever it is, right? You turn those rotors once, that's how much air it'll move. So you've got there's a calculation in the Andrew rulebook, and it goes by the engine displacement multiplied by this formula. And that crazy formula they've got just doesn't make any sense. It means that motor is going to make somewhere between, then depending on cylinder heads and camshafts, between 36 and 42 pounds. If you've got really bad cylinder heads and really bad camshafts, you'll probably make 42 pounds. If you've got really good cylinder heads, really good camshaft, a well-developed engine combo, you'll make 36. Having no boost rule for the turbo cars means that the turbo cars have a massive advantage. And the reality is this: if you take AA altered production as an example, in America, the NHRA, in the 2025 rulebook, the current rulebook, turbo cars are limited to 34 PSI. They are not allowed to run an intercooler. They are not allowed to have injectors upstream of the throttle body. And those cars can run 560. Okay, they're 2650 pounds, 526. Now, they were 2700 pound. The NHRA took 50 pounds off of them, right? So you compare that to our rule package, that means that a AA altered production injected car can potentially run 560s, because they run consistently 560s in Pro Mod. And I know a lot of people go, oh, but that's Pro Mod. That's a professional category. No, actually Pro Mod and Top Alcohol are Group 2. They're sportsman categories. They're no different to Super Sedan in America.
Yep.
That's the reality. So you can't have the supercharged races getting back into top comp when they're going, well, I'm not going to race because I've got the turbo cars have got an unfair advantage. And that's what's happened. That's why we have Pro Alcohol, and that is why we have SummerSlam.
Yeah, but I feel as if the direction that you're coming from might have a focus on like other races in WA.
But
And you said
we
that-
had the rule. We had a 40 PSI rule, and under Brett Stevens, for some reason that no one can explain, the rule got removed. And now there is a rule submission, I believe, in the works that's asking for the rule to get completely removed.
I'd just love to see. You say that Gary Milosevic built a great local sport, but we used to have events that would bring in East Coast competitors. Every event was a separate focus show.
Yep.
And whether it be your top alcohol,
Well, you didn't
whether
let-
it be
you
your
didn't-
pro stock,
You didn't let me
your
pick
top
my
fuel.
my
Am
change.
I taking it? Yeah.
You didn't let me pick my change.
But where you're going with the rules with the turbos, it's you need to be giving you want to be giving a different show to the spectators, and you don't want to be
Absolutely.
putting all of your eggs in one basket
But
with your
that's-
prime door slammers and Top Fuel being at the Western Nationals.
But that's what
your biggest crowd.
what
in
we've
the one
got
place.
now. What we've got now is effectively the same show
Yes.
every week.
Yeah.
It doesn't really.
And where I say that Gary had the money, and I'm just making assumptions here, but the East Coast cars, we didn't have the political issues that we have.
Yep.
But those issues potentially might be, I don't know, with obviously Sydney, then their sanctioning body being dual. They're trying to work it out being dual. Haven't heard anything confirmed. If you are not sure, dual IHRA Andra. But if we used to all be competing for the one championship under the one sanctioning body, and they used to also get tow money.
Yeah. So
help and contribute teams coming across.
I think where we saw the heyday in that was when there was only Willowbank and Perth was,
Hang
light
on,
years.
Sydney.
No,
came
because Sydney
first.
came on later on.
No,
Yeah, Sydney was 04.
Yeah. So we were in 2000, and
I always thought that Perth was modelled off Sydney.
no, other way around.
Right, okay.
Other way around.
We were before
Yeah.
Sydney,
So if you were a sponsored racer, the likes of the Brays, you had to race somewhere. You know what I mean? You're not going to keep getting a check from Castrol if you're not going anywhere. So, but you were right. There was, Gary would negotiate some tow money to get. But who are the stars now, in your opinion? Who would you bring over from the East Coast?
I feel like the sport,
Matooks?
I feel like the sport's so divided. It's so hard to even say who's the star now. when
Because
it's
over there,
separate championships.
over
across.
there, door slammer's not a big deal. And pro mod, which people over here are saying, oh, we need to bring pro mod. Pro mod is a super gas on steroids.
But let's go back another step here as well. Like back in the day as well, we had Gary bringing cars in from not just the East Coast, but from other parts of the world.
Yeah.
So, Gary Densham, remember Gary Densham used to come here once a year and bring
Yep.
his car.
Yep.
Yeah,
here.
and obviously Chuck Hayes came across.
Wayne Torkelson in his door slammer.
Yeah, what I was going to say
Scotty
is
Cannon.
John Shelby.
John Shelby, I went
and
that night.
Torkelson, they ran the first Top Door Slammer Championship, and Shelby won the championship, the very first Australian Top Door Slammer Championship. But it was different back then because we didn't have the internet. Right now you can just log on and watch an NHRA race or a radial race or whatever live. But I think that we can do that. I think that we can bring some of that back here, regardless of rules governing this, that, and the other. It's got nothing to do with the spectator. I think you're spot on about the marketing. If you don't advertise, people don't know.
Yeah,
And relying on social media is...
But then what's your target audience? Because then build it around them. Because the fight... Look, they used to say 6 o'clock it would start. Now they're saying 5 o'clock. But yeah, you could really make a whole day of it if you
You
could.
could.
But
you
the
could.
target audience is now massive. You know who the target audience is? And I've been thinking about this a while. The target audience is now every Saturday, even during particularly during the AFL season, because our target audience has been the AFL have kicked their target audience out of free-to-air TV on Saturdays.
Yep, they have.
So there's no Saturday AFL game. Now, not everyone can afford pay TV.
Yeah.
So
right.
our audience has just opened up. I see this massive potential for drag racing on a Saturday where we could pitch that to Seven, to Plus, or to whoever it may be, a free-to-air TV provider.
Yeah, but let's
go. There's millions of people across Australia not able to watch it.
Let's go back to getting bums on seats, because when you try to pitch it, right? When you try to pitch to a TV station, they want to know that there's an audience there.
Yeah, you don't want the camera to show you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think you've got to be pitching these sports now. You can frame it in a way, Simon, that you don't even see the crowd.
I know, but
CGI.
You don't. It's you look at some
Let's
of the
work on the show.
MotoGP races. It's probably a bad example.
No, that's a very bad example.
But there are races. There's places
even
where,
during COVID, they filled the places.
Yeah, even in some places they don't get the crowds.
Let's
Just make sure they're all
frame it
wearing
in
a
a manner.
Denani Hot Shots pink hat.
The audience is now, the opportunity for audience is the highest it's ever been, because the AFL are saying to all their audience, well, we don't want you on Saturdays.
I'm talking.
If you want to watch our product, you've got to pay for it.
You're talking about the national deal. I'm talking about the West Australian deal, because that used to be, 6,000, 7,000, 8,000 people strong every meeting, right? I don't remember a time when the place looked barren, right? And I believe that the key to bringing that back is, like you said, number one, marketing, right? Number one, marketing. Do the research. Find out what radio stations people listen to. Find out what TV and what time slots. And maybe they don't even watch TV anymore.
And
maybe they're on YouTube watching Joe Rogan or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Make a deliberate marketing so you're targeting that audience, right?
We've heard people will complain about the ticket prices. Then it gets compared to a Wildcats game, and suddenly, it's cheaper. How do you think they would feel if you then say that instead of a 5 till 10, 10:30, 5.5 hour show, it's a 12-hour show that they could watch?
Yeah.
And I say show as in, being their show. Like, it's $50, $44 if you buy online the day before and the weeks ahead, and you could be there for 12 hours. Like, try complaining against that.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah. Or even bring it down a little bit, but
that too. But
or maybe free for kids. That'd be good.
I mean, competitors' kids could be free. Just saying.
Free for kids. I think the biggest crowds they've ever had have been when they
have
had
to pay for Luna now.
But you still need to have the show. And if you serve up the same dish every meal, no matter how good the chef is, eventually you're going to go, I'm a bit tired of this. So if I was going to change anything, I wouldn't run 5 door slammer rounds. I wouldn't run, all this, 10 outlaw radio rounds. I would have one big meeting for outlaw radio and pool all that prize money. So let's say that the winner gets $800 and they run it for 10 meetings. We'll make it $8,000 for one meeting. Do the same with Door Slammer. Let's say it's $4,000 for 5 meetings. Make it $20,000.
But then they just run once?
No, the rest of the time they run in Top Com.
Right.
Or they run in Super Sedan or Top Sportsman. Right? Same with Top Bike. But make the prize money that big and put the advertising into it, that this is going to be WA's biggest, bracket racing event or whatever it is, right? And have one meeting that's Top Sportsman, right? And maybe combine, like the Yanks do, where you have modified and sedans, dragsters, altereds, all racing together, but they're racing for 10 grand or you know what I mean? A big prize money. You're going to get, especially with the bracket races, you put up a $10,000 to win race over here, right? You know how many people from Adelaide are going to enter without even
for
thinking.
For sure.
Without even thinking. They're just going to go, they're paying 10 grand in Perth. Right? You could do that. You could sit down with the sponsors.
I'd settle for one.
You could sit down with the sponsors and you could say, hey, I know that we've run 5 meetings, but I'll tell you what, this is what we're going to do. And the other thing is bring back the program.
Oh, 100%.
Bring back
100%.
the program.
Yeah, we need the program. We need to educate the spectators on the sport. The amount of times that I get asked why I don't leave the start line at the same time as my opposition in rounds. The way I have to explain what a package is, why you are allowed to break out on a solo, and why that package then still contributes. It's like...
Nick's working out how much of this is going to edit out.
Yeah. It's the crowd can have so much more entertainment
Absolutely.
than just who's crossing the finish line at the end. If they understand the sport better, if they have more driver recognition. Now, obviously, should I say that? I don't mean to sound obnoxious.
No. That's this is the problem. The NHRA many years ago brought out a saying that said the NHRA were the cars of the stars. Right now they're changing that
Totally.
because they realise that the cars don't have character, whereas the drivers do.
Yeah.
We don't even introduce the drivers and their cars.
We don't introduce them.
Like they should come up on the screen when they're coming through the burnout with a choice
Or
of
even
their
just put
song
a face
as well.
to the name, put a face to the name. So, I have.
Can you imagine that on the big screen?
Yeah.
Paul
with your-
Garbellini, Michelle Morris.
Cool. It would be so
And
Standing
with
there
your,
holding
so
your
when you're
helmets.
coming out doing the burnout,
Yep.
your favourite
Yep.
song, and then Paul has his
Yep.
favourite song, whatever it may be.
Look, I have a big personality.
I'd have Land Down Under.
Oh, damn it. I wish I had thought of something already. Didn't we already speak of what I would have in another chat
Maybe,
between us? Anyway, I understand? No, I struggle to understand because it seems so natural to me. I put a lot into the time that I spend with my spectators and the
Michelle,
support and attention that is given.
You are one of the greatest ambassadors at the moment with how much work you do, going down to the car shows and getting the kids in the car and handing out the flyers. I think you've done more marketing for the Motorplex this season than the Motorplex has done for the Motorplex this season, except for the Speedway.
Seeing the... thank you. I do appreciate that. Look, I started off as a spectator, and my car being pink, it's naturally drawn a large crowd of kids, and you give them the time of day and you give them the opportunities that are really going to give them an experience beyond what they have paid to see, because I can, some cars can't, some people can't, I get that. The fact that I sit upright in my car on the return road and wave to the crowd, it is such a simple and easy gesture. I love it. The crowd love it. Like, they make me feel, they boost my confidence to another level. I feel like a celebrity, and I'm a Group 3 racer. How do I feel like I have this from these natural mannerisms of mine? It seems so simple and easy.
It is true, though. Like, when you go to the footy and the crowd's cheering, it just changes the way you feel.
Yeah. When the crowd has a personal connection, when they have, what did they call it in the block? An emotional connection. They feel like they know you. They feel like they know things about you. They've told you things about them. I've had one young girl who's got 200 die-cast model cars, pink only pink.
Wow.
Only
That's
pink,
gold.
she's like 6 years old and only pink. She only collects the pink ones. And, you show interest in their stories and, that really boosts them, and this is what creates the fans.
Yeah.
And
you know what? When they when you interact with them at that level, they're fans for life.
Yeah, totally.
They'll be 20 years old and they'll remember that pink car and, that girl that let me sit in it.
It's cool. I look back on it in a totally different view now that I'm a mum myself.
Sorry to cut you off. I got to know, the girl that had the 200 pink cars, when she saw your car, she would have thought, like, this is a real life.
Oh yeah, she absolutely loved it. And then I had to break it to them. I have searched everywhere for an altered T-bucket die-cast model that I could I could paint pink. I think I'm going to have to
get one made.
Yes, and don't worry, my brain is already turning over with that. But it's just it becomes more personal to them. And
now, Michelle, while I've got you on this subject, we need to talk about Matty Gordon signing for Ron Capps. Now, you have a personal connection with Matty, don't you?
No, I don't. Well, I mean, do we call it personal? Maybe very one-sided. I love Matty Gordon. So I saw this YouTube clip from the NHRA. Is it NHRA Insider?
Yes.
They did a YouTube feature on Matty. Now, obviously, Matty's family has been involved with the NHRA drag racing for a very long time. Matty's been running in Top Alcohol in Funny Car, and this feature was like just following her around at the day racetrack, interviewing her with some questions, and then camera was there after each run. And her energy, so what is she, 20 years old, 22 or something
somewhere
like that?
around there. Is it a blown alcohol or is it injected nitro?
Oh, now I'm thinking that it might be injected nitro.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm not completely sure, of course, because then when we watch as viewers on that suddenly Top Alcohol is not a Group 1 class like it is in Australia, like we've said. So, we really do have to search purposely to find information on this. And I'd seen her face about. I'd seen her, there's been a lot of support for female drivers and a lot of headway for female drivers racing in some of the top categories. So I'd seen her as, I think she actually won the 200th female to win an NHRA event or something last year. But then she was also on the front cover with a heap of other female racing competitors. I'd seen her face around, but then...
She's 20.
Is she 20?
Yep.
Yeah, 20. I watched this clip and her energy and excitement and mannerisms. I just said to Trent, I was like, oh my gosh, that's me. And I was like, I love her. I just said, please tell me I'm like her. And it's, as I said, I've got a bold personality a lot of the time. Sometimes people don't take me seriously because of how energetic, excited I am. They don't think that I'm being serious. They don't think I'm concentrating. My energy is something that definitely in earlier years I thought that I had to suppress a little bit. I'm now the confidence of being a mum. Can you believe it? I have more confidence to stay true to myself and show my true self. I think confidence all around in general to just be myself. But her energy is just like me. And I was saying to Trent, please tell me I'm like her, please. She's just no care given to just naturally express her excitement and her description of things at just 100%. And maybe with the support behind her, she doesn't feel like she needs to suppress that to be taken more seriously like I did. Maybe she's at an age where she hasn't started thinking in that direction of having to. And I wish that she never does, because it's relatable, inspiring, and it's it's just so true. It's just so true. You really can see her personality. You just feel as if, you can really see her true self, and it's not a persona that can sometimes understandably, people can put on for certain job roles, positions.
I tell you what, if she starts racing next season, and we get Angel racing next season as well.
Yeah.
And Salinas' dad comes back into racing. It's going to be a bumper Top Fuel. Between Top Fuel and Nitro Funny Car, they're going to have like 22 cars show up for 16-car fields.
Yeah, there seems to be a lot of headway in some moves, driver moves.
You reckon it's Donald Trump?
And cars coming in. There was also some interesting news that came out of Skag.
Yeah.
That they're bringing out a pro mod.
Oh, really?
A pro mod car, yes, with a driver that's like a MMA fighter or something like that. I just
saw that
saw it. I
today,
just saw
yeah.
it today.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I thought how interesting, because they've obviously minimised their Top Fuel racing team size this year, and have then given some attention and focus into pro mod.
I thought that they were increasing the size of their team.
Well,
Because they've got Antron. Is Antron driving?
Antron's his own deal, right?
No, Antron's his own.
Antron's
Yeah,
his
but
own deal.
who's his major sponsor?
Uh,
Oh, he's got the tool.
Matco.
Matco.
Yeah.
Is it
that still on
Matco?
there? They've been with him since DSR. Though.
So, what's his name? The Ashley.
Justin.
Yeah, has he got Skag?
Yeah, I think it's Justin.
And Tony Stewart. Tony Schumacher.
No,
No?
so Tony Schumacher left at the end of this season, and so now he's going to be racing with Clay Milliken, with Rick Ware, who, that's just going
Parts
to be
Plus.
a part-time gig.
Yeah, okay.
But then, so for
So
their
they're
top
going
fuel
pro mod
competitors,
racing.
Yeah, for top fuel competitors, top fuel dragster, they have Ida.
Edis, yep.
And
Zetterstrom.
then of course, oh my goodness, what's her name? Patron. Oh, Alexis
Alexis
DeJoria.
DeJoria, yeah.
And
yep.
I think both of them. I think they came out saying both of them were going to be part time. Like
Really?
neither were doing the full season. Definitely Ida. Not too sure about Alexis.
Yeah.
But remember, I was saying that I wonder whether this part time stuff has anything to do with the IHRA, whether it's
Could
like
be.
a cross championship doing both type thing.
But we still don't really know what's going on
Still don't know.
over...
Though one of those tracks has been now confirmed bought. Yeah,
Yep.
which one it was, I did not take
I'm just
notes
trying
for
to-
it. But yeah, still no calendar.
Still trying to have a look here. Who's Skag? That was on. I saw it as well today.
I've got some breaking news. I don't know if it's meant to be public or not.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
Just time note for this.
Johnny Ricker. Our man Johnny Ricker.
It's coming to
and-
Oz.
Sorry?
Didn't you? No, never mind.
And Mr. Zabolic have bought Heathcote.
Oh, I did see that.
Oh, so it is public.
Yeah, I saw. I thought I saw that somewhere. Yes.
There you go. So that is a pretty big deal, because they can both afford to turn that into, basically another bend.
Yep.
And
Wow.
both passionate, Johnny in particular, passionate about drag racing. Also a big boost for radial racing, because they're both mad radial racers.
Very cool.
So, yes, that is
Heathcote, Victoria.
correct. Yes, yeah. That is very, very big news. Those guys, Ricker in particular, who I've spoken to multiple times, just an absolute gentleman, top guy. So
Very cool.
big news for drag racing in Australia.
Wouldn't that be a nice drive? Perth Motorplex, the Bend, Heathcote,
Yeah.
straight along
we're
the
getting there.
south. So here we go. Skag Racing has announced the expansion of its team with the addition of a pro mod program that will be driven by former MMA fighter Randy Couture.
That's right.
Ah, Couture. He's got a massive fan base.
Does he?
Yeah, massive fan
Yeah,
base.
he's huge.
He's huge. He's huge.
Yeah.
All right. Should we move on to Formula One?
We'll get Formula One knocked over quickly. No, let's do the Riverbend Nationals. Let's keep it all drag racing. We'll talk Formula One.
Come on, mate. Oscar Piastri just won.
I know, but let's
Save it.
do
We're
the
on our
Riverbend-
way.
Save it for 214.
We haven't had an Australian champion since Brabham.
No, Alan Jones.
Oh, sorry, Alan Jones.
1980.
Well, he was driving for Brabham, wasn't he?
Yeah, but it was 1980.
Did
let's
we
just
even
quickly.
say that what Maddie Gordon was doing? You just said, do I have a personal relationship with her? And I went to say about how great I think
She will be driving a Top Fuel dragster for Ron Capps in 2026. I don't know who the sponsor is. Possibly Napa, maybe.
They have Gordon, at only 20 years of age, will make her professional debut in 2026. Ron stated that they are going to build the program and team around Gordon, and they look forward to her having a wonderful long career. I'm wondering if better motorcycles will come across. They'd been
That's
with
interesting,
Maddie
yeah,
and her
because
dad for a long time.
they're quite a reputable brand. They've been with them.
Yeah, they've been
considerable-
with them for a long time.
Yeah.
So,
Do you know,
Who knows?
is it a motorcycle reseller or?
no, it's their own brand. I actually only got introduced to them the other day. They're like, it looks like a Honda trail bike, really.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So it's
headlight, kinda.
an off-road,
They can ride on the
On
road,
road,
but
on-
kind
yep.
of that look about it. Yeah,
and
bit
it's
of both.
called Better.
Better, BETA.
There you go.
Yeah,
Check it out. I've been hearing a lot about Shark. Heard of Shark?
Stark?
Stark.
Oh,
Sorry,
Stark.
Stark.
Stark. You can buy them down at Empire Cycles. Shout out to Dave Long.
Yeah, electric. Apparently, they do some pretty wild
They
bikes.
they are insane. They you can tune them by their little dial on the bike, so you can tune it how much torque that it has to be able to customize your run just then and there with the dials. I was quite surprised to hear that they are actually the same weight as a 450cc.
Oh, yeah.
But so a friend of mine, Dave Long, owns Empire Cycles, and they were one of the first to bring them over, and they've got some sponsored riders that have been riding them for the last couple of years.
But they do a road bike now? Is that correct?
Well, I'm not sure if it's been released. It was definitely on the cards for it.
Apparently, it's mental. Like the bike guys that I've spoken to have been telling me, you got to check this thing out. I think they're about 20 grand, but they're stupid, like insanely fast.
Yeah, well, the dirt bikes themselves, they're like 20 grand.
Yep.
It's a lot. But from what I understand, like the owners of Stark, like they started off as road bike races. So it was interesting that they went into dirt bikes as their first
Bike's a bike.
introductory into it. Yeah, but then it was interesting because you would have your Stark sponsored riders, but then you're not allowed to do a burnout. You're not allowed to put vinyl stickers on because they're very environmentally friendly. So there would be things that they didn't like going against their message. So yeah, there was
You've ruined it for me now.
Yeah, there was a rider that did a burnout, and then I was like, no, you're.
Are they
crossing
buying
over
their
with that.
battery? Are they buying their nickel for their batteries from Indonesia? Perhaps, maybe.
Liam.
Yeah.
We haven't spoken about that yet.
No, we haven't.
Oh,
No.
that's for a whole new episode.
That's a whole nother episode.
Let's-
So there was
We will. I mean, that's for Nick to say.
a 7 spotlight.
Liam Bartlett, good WA boy.
Yes, he is. He's a champion. Where they expose the dirty nickel manufacturing in Indonesia and how the nickel mines are getting shut down in Australia because we have certain EPA regulations. And this goes back to the Trump tariffs and my philosophy with tariffs that you've known about for decades, where I believe that if a country has a lower standard of living, a lower wage, a lower EPA requirement, and a lower health and safety requirement, then they must be tariffed because that's the only way it can be fair for local manufacturing. We're seeing that play out with Indonesian nickel at the moment, dirty nickel they call it. Now, there was an article by someone, who was it? Someone important?
No.
Would Trump say, they're going broke or something?
Tech mob.
Some tech mob
High-tech or something.
that said that Liam Bartlett failed to identify that the nickel was being used in EVs. Obviously, this tech magazine or website or whatever is pro EV. The thing that they pointed out was that the nickel coming out of Indonesia is dirty nickel, and it's very expensive to process dirty nickel into clean nickel, which is a higher grade nickel that gets used to manufacture batteries. The thing is, though, and I was saying that, Australian nickel is the higher quality nickel. The thing is, though, if you look at the size of those factories, clearly they're doing more to that nickel than what we do to our nickel. So I think it's fairly safe to say that the argument is flawed. And if the nickel is going to China, it's probably ending up in the batteries, because when you look at the percentage of nickel that you use to make stainless steel, which is what they were trying to point out, and you need a very high grade nickel for stainless steel, which could be why the Chinese stainless is so rusty. Just a side note there, anyone that's used Chinese stainless steel for their exhaust would know what I'm talking about. It's fairly safe to say that that dirty nickel that's being produced in Indonesia that is destroying the environment, which we brought this to everyone's attention, 5 years ago or something?
Yeah, it was. I can't believe it was 5 years ago.
5 years ago.
2020, then again in 2022.
We were saying that Tesla drivers are killing the planet, pretty much.
Yeah.
And Liam, thank you so much for vindicating Nick and I. We've stood our ground on this, that EVs are not the solution. And I'm not going to budge on that, because ultimately, even if you made it with clean nickel, you still need to dispose of those batteries. And we're coming up to that cycle now, Nick. We are coming up to that cycle where we're going to start to see the Teslas coming up for their batteries. And Todd pointed out that there was a Tesla driver who was bragging that he'd done 1 million miles in his Tesla. And correct me if I'm wrong, that Todd said that had been through 5 battery packs?
I think 3.
3 battery packs, and 2 motors?
Yeah, I think
Is that something like that? So it's a bit like that axe that I've got that's had 3 handles and 2 heads. It's a brilliant axe, that one. Anyway, moving on.
Riverbend Nationals, let's cover that. Top door slammer in the A final, it was
Jeremy Callahan.
taking the win.
So
there.
great to see Jeremy get the win after his rollover that we saw at the Western Nats. So
Incredible they got that car fixed so quick.
Absolutely.
No, I told
fixed
you it was-
and running just
There
top
was hardly
numbers.
anything wrong with it. It was just scratched. The
Yeah.
roof was scratched, and then the rear quarter had a little crack in it. So.
Yeah, just so good for the team.
Yeah.
Really good just to
Well, for
come
him,
back from
for
that.
him too, yeah.
But then to have this success as well.
Yep. Top bike was Damien Muscat. Top fuel, Wayne Newby. And in Nitro Funny Car, Maury McMillan. So congratulations there. In top, we should cover the sportsman, Aeroflow sportsman as well.
Kyle's sitting 4th in the points.
Oh, well, I was going to do the points in a minute.
That's pretty stout.
Let's just do the winners and runners up in sportsman as well. So in junior bike, it was Lillian Hagen over Riley Kilvington. So he made the trip over there. Well done, Riley. Junior dragster, Zane Condello over Nixon Canuli. In comp bike, it was... Is that right? Am I reading that? Edge Malice over Cheryl Bidios. Modified, Adriana Cartledge over Daniel Carranza. Modified bike, Dave Harrison over Donald Hagen. Super comp, Craig Geddes over Pat Furiolo. Super sedan, Adam Ince over Sam Mayer. Sean. Super street, Henry Spichak over Kevin Cooper. Supercharged Outlaws, Bob Sherry over Greg Angus. Top sportsman, Dave Foster over Chris Theo. So the points is looking like this at the moment.
Yeah, in top fuel, you got Wayne Newby over Damien Harris, over Phil Reed, and our main man, Kyle Pullen, in 4th spot. I'll tell you what, that's stout for a one,
It is very stout.
pretty much self-funded one-car team.
Yep.
Then Peter Zabiris in 5th, which is Peter actually still running the car?
No, that's
I think Anyway, and in 6th is Phil Lemontina, and 7th is Steve Reed.
And then in Nitro Funny Car Championships, we've got Morris McMillan in the lead, and it's only a 6-point lead over Josh Leahy. So that's going to be tight as the season gets closer to the end. Justin Walsh in 3rd place, followed by Adam Merahi. Number 5, Tony Johnson Jr., and number 6, Damon Payton. And coming number 7th is Chris Stipanovic.
Stipanovic. So I don't know. I can't.
Stepanovic.
Stepanovic.
There
That's
we go.
it.
How to break it down.
Who used to run Nitro Funny Car many years ago?
He did. And top door slammer is Russell Taylor, leading over Lisa Gregorini, then John Zapier, then down to Brody Zapier, Matt Abel, Daniel Gregorini, Ronnie Palumbo, Peter Kapiris, Steve Alderich, and Morris Brennan make the top 10 there. So
Man, there's 22 cars
that
are contesting that championship. Mm-hmm. Top bike, Damien 5-second Musket. That is a beast, that thing. In 1st spot, Wayne McGuinness. 2nd spot, Corey. I really need to get better glasses.
in 3rd, Greg Durack in 4th, Danny Rickard in 5th,
Benny Stevens in 6th, Rob Cassar.
Yeah, Rob Cassar.
Cassar, sorry, yes, in 7th, Tony Wood in 8th, Kevin Gummow in 9th, and rounding out the top 10 is Damien Martini.
So, well done to them. It's off to the Nitro Champs on the 4th and 5th of May, I think, from memory.
Yes,
It's the
that
Nitro
sounds
Champs.
correct.
Yep, so I'm looking forward to that. And then after that, I think it's Winter Nationals.
It would be the Winter Nationals, but I know that some of the classes are actually finishing up their championship at other events.
Oh, okay.
So, Door Slammer, I think, extend on to Northern Territory
Yep.
for an event in August.
We've got
But
to talk.
I think some of the some of the classes are finishing at the Winters, and some of them are extending on. So, I've heard it. I haven't seen anything official, but at the same time, I haven't looked. So maybe we can get some more clarification on that for the next episode.
Yep.
We got to talk about Formula One. Nick.
We do, yeah. Oscar Piastri, Formula One in Bahrain. Congratulations to Oscar Piastri. It really was a masterclass. Qualified first.
Now, when he took the podium, did they play Land Down Under?
No, they did not land down under.
Why?
I don't know.
You know, the Americans are running it now. Can we get a bit of, you know?
Yeah, I know. They shouldn't they? But no, he had an absolutely magnificent weekend. He was flawless. He really was. I think Lando had a reasonable weekend. Like, he didn't start in his pit box. He was like a metre out of it, so that gave him a 5-second penalty. And he's kind of had to battle a little bit there. But the Ferrari was probably the surprise package for me personally. They on the long runs, they were really good, the Ferraris. And it was good to see Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton do, I felt, reasonably well. I gave them the team of the round, really, personally.
What happened to my mate?
Who's your mate?
Mr. Red Bull.
He came 6th. So Max, I haven't got the...
Oh, I thought you were talking
Maxi.
about your other mate.
Which other mate? Formula One.
The one you made.
So, and
I can't even say it, Simon. I'm going
Kimi,
I just know you'll kick me under the table if I do.
Kimi Antonelli really surprised me as well. He's looking really good in the Mercedes. And George's pace was pretty encouraging as well in the Mercedes. So it was Oscar Piastri took the win there. In the McLaren, George Russell in the Mercedes in 2nd. Lando Norris 3rd in the McLaren. Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton, congratulations to them. I thought they did really well to get those Ferraris home in 4th and 5th. Jack Doohan 15th and Liam Lawson 17th. So Jack didn't have the best day, but I thought they did reasonably. He made the best of probably a bad situation.
I thought Todd had started some sort of petition online to get Liam Lawson fired.
Oh,
No, not Todd. No, I think it
maybe
was.
it was already going around.
Yeah.
It was
and brought it to
already
the attention.
But Liam,
Maybe
Liam,
yes, he
Yeah.
brought it to my attention.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So yeah, it was a Bahrain. It always impresses. It was a great race, and it's good to see. It's good to see mixed up and Max Verstappen not happy with the car set up, just not getting their way. So, and Ollie, I wrote this here. Ollie Beerman still impressing me in the Haas. He's doing magnificent things in the Haas. Finished top 10 in the Haas. That's magnificent for that car. So well done to Ollie Beerman.
So did we have two Red Bull
Yeah,
races,
so you
but not...
not in the
Yeah.
Yuki Tsunoda I think was 9th.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
geez, that's how much I've been paying attention. He's racing for Red Bull now.
Yeah,
Yuki Tsunoda's been in the team, but he's been racing the red.
Yeah,
the-
Toro Rosso.
No, the Visa Cash App Woolworths. card.
Flybys.
He's been racing that one.
Rewards.
So.
Yep.
I will just quickly cover off on supercars. It was. I don't understand at the moment. It was New Zealand. They were off to New Zealand. Did you? I'm going to ask a stupid question. You didn't watch it?
No,
Michelle,
no.
did you watch it
I
at
did
all?
not watch it.
The audio. I don't know if it was something. If it was just me, the audio was terrible. The audio was just like they were recording it they were racing in a toilet.
I was going to say, did you hear bah, bah, bah?
I don't know. Just the audio was really shocking. Anyway, not sure if it was Foxtel had their full crew down there or they used someone else's microphones. I don't know. It
Yeah,
was,
only could fit limited in there. Carry on.
Yeah.
One baggage allowance.
So I don't know
They
what
can
that
get
was
the
about.
cars there, but the video and the audio.
Anyway, I don't know.
I mean,
The drone footage was all right.
Sacrifices were made to get the cars there, though, wasn't there?
But Matty Payne,
Racing in general.
he turned it on. Obviously, he's a local, Matty Payne, being a New Zealander, and he
Funny
knows that
how
track.
the locals seem to win.
Yeah, he knows that track inside out. Does a lot of racing. You talk about learning the tree, or what do you call
Seeing
it?
the tree? Is it-
Yeah,
that
seeing
is
the
it?
tree,
Matthew-
facing the tree.
Yeah, Matthew Payne does that in the off season. He's racing, doesn't
Yeah.
stop racing every
Yeah.
weekend.
But
So,
then for your home track, and
Yeah.
if it's
so
when
well
it comes
done
to turning
to
corners,
well done
don't
to
ask
him.
me.
Matthew Payne took the
Hey,
winning race 8.
you know how it goes. If you turn in the corner, you're
slow.
going too. Yeah, that's right. You're going too slow.
Matthew Payne took the win in race 8 and race 10. Chaz Mostert took the win in race 9. So, well done to them.
You know what I have noticed is that and this isn't just you, but in the old days we used to say Matthew Payne and the car brand would be there.
Yeah.
Nowadays, when you look at the leaderboard or anything, it's not.
So, yeah,
You know what I mean?
Sorry, so it's the Mustang. That is the Penrite Mustang.
No, but you know what I'm saying. Like, even when you
yeah.
watch the
Yeah,
race,
yeah.
it's not. It doesn't have Ford or.
Yeah, but I wonder if that's because of the whole engine changing.
No, they've
consistent
got
thing.
actual
Yeah, it's
real
still-
engines in
yeah,
there
they're
now.
still got
But are
Fords
they
and-
all the same
No.
between them?
No,
and
they've got a
everything?
Coyote. That's the
Sorry, I've been-
the TC or
TCR.
TCR.
Okay, I'm getting.
Yeah, they're all LSs, but these have got before
TA, sorry, TA2.
TA2. There you
Yeah,
go.
but you're referencing the car that they're actually driving, so it's not
Yeah,
that
but
you
on
just
the
have as.
on the leaderboard in the old days, you would have Dick Johnson, Ford, Peter Brock, Holden.
Yeah.
Um,
That's how the battle
They
began.
signify it with a colour now. So the gold is Chev and the blue is Ford.
Oh,
So you only
There
see
you
2
go.
colours. And I know what they're going to do next year when Toyota comes in. I guess it's red. I don't know.
red Toyota. My God, how many Holden people are going to be?
I guess I'm only guessing. I don't know that. I don't know that factually. But, Anyway, look,
I
it's
think they
tightened
would-
up the
red would be
championship.
right.
651 points for Will Brown, Cam Waters 617, and Matthew Payne's come into the 4 now, 605.
There you go.
All right, Well, look, what have we got coming up? We've gone 2 hours on this one.
What's coming up?
And
Rest.
before we go any further, I'm going to ask you a question, right? So, I've grown a beard. It's very
Very
itchy,
fast.
very annoying. And I had a lot of young ladies that I know through racing come up to me at the track.
How's this going?
No, and say, oh, your beard looks really good. I've got to ask, because my wife won't kiss me. She says it's like being stabbed by 1,000 knives right? when we kiss. So, as a girl, right, what is it that is attractive about beards? When it's like kissing a porcupine.
Why on earth would you put me on the spot like that? You know that Trent doesn't have a beard.
Well, he's growing one now.
No, I did not say that.
She did.
I said that's.
But you talk to other.
Trent's only just starting to grow one because he didn't grow my.
Okay,
much
look, but
facial hair.
you talk to other girls, right?
Yeah.
I'm curious because. If I can't stand it, I'm going to
Yeah.
shave it off probably tonight when I get home because being here and sweaty and itchy, right, it's just driving me crazy. I have to know what it is that attracts girls to beards. Like, they seem impractical.
Oh, Simon, I'm all about the personalities. No, not really. Not really.
I'm just curious.
No, I think, it needs to be how you construct the beard. You can't just, any beard will qualify. Any facial hair on the face would qualify. It needs to be like an even coverage. Have you seen Ethan's? My nephew? He's only like 24. Solid. Absolutely
No, but
solid.
Dave's is impressive. Dave, who used to crew for me, Dave Narella.
Right.
His is really impressive. It is. He's done very well with that.
You gotta do the whole combined look for it. And the thing is, you got to commit to the beard for past 2 weeks, which you wouldn't have to stay committed for long if this is what you've got in 2 weeks.
no,
Like,
this
I
is
walked
so
in and
itchy.
I was like, who the hell? But it's only itchy when it's short. Once it gets longer, it'll get softer.
it's going. It's going. I have been
Have you ever
considering.
shaved your legs before?
No,
Don't admit to
no.
that on the radio.
No.
It's sharp at first, and then once it's long enough, it's then soft.
I have been considering growing my hair long again.
Really?
Yeah. I feel as though
Are
I've
you hiding from someone?
no, but I had a ponytail forever, didn't I?
Years.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. So I have considered it. I
But
feel
you're wanting a completely different look?
no.
Like you're...
No, I've had long hair, short hair.
Yeah, but to do it all at once right now.
Well, no, I'm going to shave this home when I get home. I want my wife to kiss me again.
Well, you've committed this far now, though. Like, otherwise,
I
what
just
has
wanted
that
to
2 weeks
see.
been for?
It used
May
to
as well
take
go a bit longer.
It used to take me 2 weeks, and I just wanted to see if I could do it again in 2 weeks. So,
Well done.
That's
Anyway.
incredible. Like I said, I wouldn't. That would take me 8-9 weeks, if not more. And it's all grey. Mine's all
Yeah.
grey now.
yeah, mine's grey too. Don't worry about that.
4 through here. Yeah.
All right, what do we got coming up? No more drag racing in WA
No
for a
drag
while.
racing.
No.
No.
There's no
It's
car
all
shows either at
Strip
the
the
moment,
car,
so-
take the engine out, check over what needs to be done. A few things we looked at last season that didn't need doing. So
Not travelling?
we'll do those. Not travelling. Look, my mind went there. It did. But recap on episode insert here when we spoke about the Andra calendar and for the Andra championship what you need to do to contest for that, which for us in WA you basically have to commit to travelling before our WA season starts because then because otherwise then you're sacrificing your WA state championship to make the other events.
So maybe next championship?
So then I looked at the NDRC championship, and of course, I won the Golden States. Hooray, NDRC. I came second for the Western Nationals, got runner-up.
Yeah.
Although Andra, when I travelled for the championship with Andra previously, we would finish the WA championship, race Adelaide, then on to Sydney Nitro Champs, finishing up in Willowbank. And we would be able to benefit from a travel bonus. And then there would also be a points cap of 300 points going into the Winter Nationals. NDRC has a points cap, but it's at 400.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
So I've got 180 from my 2 Perth rounds.
Yep.
It's not impossible, but there's already someone on 400.
Jeez.
So because there's...
Because they did Sydney.
They're from Victoria,
Bend,
I believe.
yeah.
They've done a lot of
Yeah.
in Victoria, and so
Does it
they're already
favour?
on 400.
Does it favour the East Coast races?
I think that I'd have to check to see. They still can get a travel bonus and it's travel bonus off your best round. So you don't have travel bonus off your first travelled round, which I believe that's what Andrew used to be. It would be like, okay, if I go to Adelaide first, my travel bonus is for Adelaide, right? Which
I think
worked well.
it was the first time you leave your state.
Yeah, which I am quite certain that for NDRC, it's the travel bonus off your best round.
Because it used to be just WA got the bonus.
Which
I remember
it's you can
But then we had races that never travelled and got the bonus and won.
Yeah, I remember that too.
Was it Stipo?
I think so,
Yeah. Kevin Stipkovich
oh
in Super Street. Oh, that is tight.
it's I think like what's the purpose of the travel bonus? Is it to incentivize you to drive to your next track that might be
In those
8 hours
days,
away?
it was to get people to WA because we are the most isolated
Yeah, and
track.
that's right. Like, while we are isolated, but for some of these other racetracks that are a part of the NDRC Championship, they really aren't far from one another.
No,
so
no,
it does make it a lot easier. So it's I don't. Geez, how do you commit to chasing a championship on better than 180 points?
Yeah.
Uh,
But what about for the next NDRC or Andra championship season?
It would. It's
You know,
it's
you
the
got
same thing. It's the
Danini,
same thing again.
bit
Yeah,
of
and
diesel money.
and that's the difference. It's like, would I be travelling purely for the purpose of contending for first place in the championship? Because getting one win and one runner up, like, that's where you make your commitment there. You know, you can't get better than that from your 2
Yep.
Perth states. You can get better than that, but it's a little bit better. That's
It's
where
only
you make
20
it.
points.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? Like, you'd make your commitment off that, but it's structured a little bit the same. I think realistically,
You
know,
need
it's
a
not
second
in my
car.
family's budget.
That you leave over east.
Oh yeah, don't worry.
I think your husband knows where there's a second car.
Oh my gosh, my mind didn't even go there. But yes, you're right. Sometimes I even use that second car's transmission. It has done me favours before. But I'd have to take off the supercharger. I said I. Look, Trevor's done enough for me. I think I won't push the friendship too far. I still have work that needs to be done in the off season. Look, it would be great to do it from a promotional aspect for myself and for Denani Hotshots, but chasing championship, it's just hard. Well, it's just
Darwin
hard
would
to-
be good for Dunedin, yeah? And Alice Springs?
I mean, they're
Yeah, that's
Australia
right,
wide.
yeah.
They're Australia wide. Anything.
Oh, they're Australia-wide.
Absolutely. Australia wide, 24/7.
There you go.
365 days a year.
Yeah, okay. I didn't realise that. I thought they were
Yeah.
a WA.
Yeah, and some offshore as well.
Can't
So-
they just put it on a truck for you?
Look, Simon, it's about asking, and I feel very fortunate that Denani Hotshots came on board with my racing mid-season this year. We've got to
Yeah.
remember, they came on and started sponsoring me already 4 events into the season, and
But you've delivered.
I've delivered. Yeah, but I'm not going to be the one bringing that conversation. We'll just have to see if she listens to the podcast.
Fair enough. I mean, but I understand what you're saying. But yeah, that would I see. Look, as Simon said, a good synergy with Darwin. I think that is a good.
You know what?
For,
If you aimed at doing Darwin, Alice Springs, and WA, that would be the Western Swing.
Yeah. You know how...
You'd have a broom.
You know how I've spoken before that, for the 7 years that I was out of the car, I just had to kind of turn off that emotional switch for drag racing while I focused my decisions and mindset on the areas that needed to take priority in my life. I feel as if that's my national championship chasing mentality at the moment. Like, of course, I would love to do it, and I'm. There's 20 points from being in the best position to actually contest for it otherwise. But realistically, my family, our budget, we've got other things in life that we need to focus on. I feel fortunate enough to even be driving in the first place. So I just got to turn off that. I'm better off not to think about it.
Oh, well, there you go. There you go. Nick, what are you up to?
I'm gonna get. I have not touched that car for 2 months.
That poor car.
Since the tomato day?
That's it. Since you used it as a bench to make the tomato sauce.
I literally haven't. I don't think I've even seen it since then.
You refused to move it for tomato day.
No, so I need to get cracking on it. So I need to get back into it. Yes.
I got to get back on Nicholas's hot rod.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's been kicked to the
Excited
curb.
to see the build progress with that.
I'd like to see that finished.
Yes, so would he. So would he.
It really hasn't been that long in progress.
No, but he got in some trouble with Nicole, and he was banned from working on it. And I was miles behind with work anyway, so it worked out good.
That was yes, his consequence.
But I would like to go racing next season.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah.
So
in the funny car.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I would do some laps in that car, but I mean, look, as I discussed earlier with Group 2, the way it is at the moment, it doesn't seem viable. And Door Slammer, what I've seen this season, and look, this isn't. I'm not trying to cast any negativity.
Ruffle any feathers?
Yeah, towards the field. But there are some very fast cars. I saw some very fast passes this season, like, 570s from cars that came out of nowhere. Lisa's car is just a beast, absolute beast. But you know what I did notice? That a lot of these teams, I'm not saying all of them, but a lot of them, they have a setup. And when the track comes to the car's fast. But when the track's not there, the car is like a 620, 630 car. And
Golden States, we saw that big time, didn't we, on the Friday night qualifying for the Golden States?
We were really good on those tracks. We were consistent 6-1 on tracks that other people couldn't get down or went 620, 630 on. So when the track's killer and they're going 570s, I'm going to be cannon fodder. But with the all-run format, you might get a couple of wins. You might get lucky with someone red lighting or having a breakage.
Overpowers the track.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I've been thinking about maybe.
Oh wow, there's a news. That's a.
Yeah, I mean,
I hope so. We had a bit of a false start for this season, and.
Yeah, I got real close to getting down there.
Life's busy.
But, I want to see Reno finish licensing too. Steve Brown's doing some updates to his car, so I want to see that go down and have some fun. Justin's working on some stuff. His nephew with the Apprentice car. I love that thing. The Altered, you would have seen it, no?
No, is it called The Apprentice?
Yeah, it's called The Apprentice.
Cool.
He's an apprentice.
Yes, yeah.
He's a cool kid. He's an awesome kid.
I was saying that because, Jess Harper, her dragster, back when I first started racing, was called The Apprentice.
Yeah, so that Jet Martin is his name.
Cool, okay.
Yeah, so...
with Sam Treasure's
correct,
engine.
yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm on
his old car. At the moment, it's got Justin's motor in it, but
Okay, yes.
they're building a big block for that to go double B, I think, at this stage. So yeah, there's a lot going on. I think Maddie's car is going to be one to watch for next season. Madison Brown.
Yeah.
I think they're going to step that up. Now they've got the screw blower on there. That's going to, I think it went 620. So yeah, it's going to be a good season next season. I think that there's a lot of classes out there that are going to be tightly contested, just like Modified was this season. It'll a few new cars coming into Outlaws. We've seen Jeff Acton, get some laps in.
Yeah, there's been some new cars, new drivers. Like, you've seen a lot this season of people like figuring out their cars.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of testing done within the competition for this season. So once there starts to show some consistency with those tune-ups, I think it's going to be.
I will never tire of seeing a driver's face when they do a good rip and it's a good number. Because I was talking to Jeff just after he ran that 680, and someone could have run into his car and he wouldn't wipe the smile off his face. He was just, oh, she really goes.
Yeah.
I never get bored of that. It's I think anyone out there that's thinking about giving it a go, give it a go, because you'll get it. You won't get it until you give it a go. When you give it a go, then you go, oh yeah, okay, I get it.
It's those kind of things that, like, you only experience once or occasionally, and Modified's not the game to be playing for that now, but it's unfortunately I won't see a PB again in my competition, but it was cool, and I see it with other races, and with Rachel being in the front engine dragster instead of Neil this season, she's taken his PB, and seeing
that's the worst, eh?
Seeing them in the braking area kind of battle that out, and he's like, oh, I'm back in the car next season, and you're out, I need to claim that PB back again. But it's
I remember when I
it.
licensed Amanda Martin's car and she got in and ran quicker, and she was just so stoked over it, and I was like, well, you lied, what do you want?
You know what I never tire of is the camera crew this year have really picked up. They've really focused on the driver's face.
Yes.
Have you noticed that?
Yes,
I
noticed it because it's in my peripheral vision.
Yeah. So it's a...
and I get told by the kids watching that they think I'm crying. And I'm like,
so it's a big close-up on the driver's face. Right, and you know what I don't tire of is the kids in junior drags that when they zoom, it is the best. Like, there's nothing like it. The kids in junior dragster just focusing on that tree.
You got some really intense personalities in those. It's going to be really interesting to see, like with Naylor coming into Modified, and there's a few kids there. And, Jet Martin was only racing junior dragster last season.
Well,
so
Angel now being in Modified straight from juniors. I love seeing the juniors. There's been some photos more of them like giving each other handshakes or hugs after the race, and I love it. There was some close-ups, I think, from the winters last year, and the camera stayed on the kids afterwards, and that's just it's really cool to see this.
It is. I love that. I really do.
The junior bike class, I reckon, is the coolest.
There was so many of them on the weekend because they all ride back together. That's part of their rule.
Their thing, but there's nothing junior about those bikes.
No way.
Killer. I love it.
So
it's a proper bike, you know what I mean?
Because for the limited class, what is it called for your P plates of motorbikes? R class? What's the one before L class? LMS?
It used to be L, but
LMS, I think.
I don't know what it is
so
now.
It used to be capped at 250cc.
Yes.
A few years ago, they opened it up to 600, 500.
Yeah, there's
600.
it's a Lambs approved.
Lambs, that's right, the Lambs. So it's 600 cc. So when people were telling me, oh, it's proper, they're proper street bikes, and I was like, oh yeah, like 250, and they're like, oh no, it's up to this. Now I'm like, wow.
Yeah,
Just to even
300s,
think
yeah?
about the weight. No, it's like 500 or 600.
Wow.
I think it's even 600 because then there's some like 580 and stuff. I haven't seen what their entry list has amongst each of them, but like just the weight of those bikes alone, like
Just
for those,
the gear shift and everything. It's not like a junior dragster where the kid
No.
just goes,
Yeah.
wide open. There's a lot involved
and
in
the gear shift can be very jolty.
yeah, even just staging the bike, launching it.
Yeah, that's been that has really impressed me.
Yes, I need to learn more.
It's good. Yeah,
Cleo. She likes
Yeah.
She likes the bikes.
She
She
loves
loves the
it.
bikes. She loves the bikes. So she says she's driving a junior bike. So
All right. Well, look, on that note, we'll bring this one to an end. We have blown way past 2 hours on this one, so...
Good
It is
chat.
what it is, Nick. I'm sure you'll edit out the good bits.
No, for a podcast, we'll leave it all in. It's the radio one. We'll have to maybe make it a bit shorter, but anyway, that's all right.
We'll drop everything about the motorplanes except for the race results.
We'll drop...
you can drop my round.
We'll drop the supercars because that is starting to become a bit of a snooze fest.
We didn't even talk about the election. There you go.
No, this was.
And you know
dedicated.
what? The election will have been run by the time we record it. Well, no, just before.
We'll be recording
Just
one
before.
more time.
Jimmy
You
can
have
tell
one
us that we
last.
can't talk about politics.
Cheerio to Jimmy.
Nick, you need to pull his head in.
All right, on that note, we'll bring this one to an end. Thanks, Michelle. Congratulations.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thanks, Simon. Thanks,
Congrats,
you for-
Michelle.
Thanks, guys. Thanks
Well
for
done.
cheersing with me.
No worries. Take care.